Hello students, welcome to today's class. We are going to learn about two of the most important concepts in economics, national income and inflation. These two topics form the backbone of economic understanding. So let's go step by step. Let me begin with a simple question. What is national income? It is the total monetary value of all final goods and services produced by the people of a country in one year. Notice the words final goods. We only count final goods, not intermediate goods, to avoid double counting. Economists use several measures to capture the full picture. GDP, gross domestic product (GDP) is the total value of all final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country, irrespective of who produces them. For example, if a Japanese company produces cars in India, that production is part of India's GDP. GNP, gross national product (GNP) is equal to GDP plus net factor income from abroad. Net factor income from abroad means income earned by Indians abroad minus income earned by foreigners in India. So if an Indian engineer earns in the US, it adds to India's GNP, not GDP. NNP, net national product, NNP is equal to GNP depreciation. Depreciation is the wear and tear of machinery and capital goods. National income at factor cost from NNP at market price, we subtract indirect taxes and add subsidies. This gives us the real national income, the income earned by factors of production. Per capita income, national income divided by the population. It shows the average income per person. Personal income. This is the income actually received by individuals. Formula: pi is equal to Ni corporate taxes undistributed profits plus transfer payments. Disposable income: this is personal income minus direct taxes. It is the amount left with people for consumption and saving. Now the question is, how do we measure national income? There are three methods. Production or output method: here we calculate the value of all final goods and services. We must be careful to avoid double counting. Income method: we add all factor incomes, wages plus rent plus interest plus profits. Transfer payments like pensions or gifts are not included. Expenditure method: we calculate all final expenditures, C plus I plus G plus XM, where C is equal to consumption, I is equal to investment, G is equal to government expenditure, and XM is equal to net exports. In India, all three methods are used depending on the sector. Measuring national income is not easy. There are many problems, non-monetized sectors, especially in villages with barter. The black economy or unrecorded income. Problem of depreciation, hard to calculate exact wear and tear. Price changes due to inflation and deflation. Lack of accurate statistical data. Now, one more distinction. Nominal GDP is measured at current year prices. Real GDP is measured at constant prices adjusted for inflation. The formula is GDP deflator is equal to nominal GDP divided by real GDP times 100. Real GDP is more reliable for comparing growth. Why do we study national income? Because it tells us the growth and development of a country, the average standard of living. It helps in policy and planning. It is the basis of budget preparation. It is also used for international comparison by IMF and World Bank. Now let's move to inflation. Inflation is defined as a sustained rise in the general price level of goods and services over a period of time. When inflation occurs, the purchasing power of money falls. Inflation can be classified in many ways. Based on speed, creeping inflation less than 3% per year. Walking inflation between 3 and 10% per year. Running inflation between 10 and 20%. Hyperinflation, extremely rapid, more than 50% per month. For example, Germany in 1923 or Zimbabwe in 2008. Based on causes, demand pull inflation caused by excess demand. Cost push inflation caused by higher costs of production. Other forms, stagflation, inflation with unemployment. Disinflation, fall in the rate of inflation. Deflation, continuous fall in prices. Reflation, policy to revive demand during depression. We measure inflation using price indices WPI, Wholesale Price Index, which measures price changes at wholesale level. CPI, Consumer Price Index, which measures retail prices paid by consumers. There are different CPIs for industrial workers, agricultural laborers, and urban workers. GDP deflator, which compares nominal GDP with real GDP. Inflation affects different groups differently. Producers often benefit because they can sell at higher prices. Borrowers also gain since they repay loans in cheaper money. Fixed income groups like salaried people and pensioners suffer because their purchasing power falls. On the economy, moderate inflation encourages production, but high inflation leads to uncertainty, black markets, and loss of savings. Inflation can be controlled in three ways: monetary measures by the central bank, raising repo rate, cash reserve ratio, and reducing money supply. Fiscal measures by the government, reducing fiscal deficit, increasing taxes, and cutting expenditure. Direct measures, price controls, rationing, and importing essential goods. Let me highlight a few quick facts. Stagflation means inflation with unemployment. Hyperinflation happened in Germany in 1923 and Zimbabwe in 2008. Since 2014, India officially uses CPI as the measure of inflation. Moderate inflation is actually healthy for growth, but high inflation is harmful. So, students, let's summarize. National income tells us how much a country is producing and earning. Inflation tells us how stable the value of money is. Both are crucial indicators of the economic health of a nation. That's all for today's session. Revise these concepts carefully, and I'll see you in the next class. Jai Hind!